Greetings, this is Mpoki Thomson for the Citizen Online. I'm here with Hisham Hendi, CEO of Vodacom Tanzania. We'll be talking about a multitude of things regarding the telecom industry in Tanzania and Vodacom's role. Hisham, welcome to Mwananchi Communications Limited. Well, first of all, I would like us to just get right into it. Vodacom Tanzania has a financial prospect for this year, which is banked on digital and financial performance. As the CEO, can you kind of elaborate to us what that strategy is that will drive growth for this year?
Right. First, thank you very much for the invitation to your offices. I really appreciate that. It's great to be here. So let me unpack this with different focus areas. So for us as Vodacom Tanzania, the growth pillars are very straightforward. It's about ensuring that we continue have the best network in Tanzania, and for us connectivity is critical. So that's really important to highlight. Secondly, which coming at the back of in the last decade, we have invested over 1.9 trillion shillings in network enhancements, right? Only in the last year alone, we put over 170 billion shillings into our network. So I think that speaks to our priority to ensure that without having a strong connectivity into our network and the continuous enhancements and bringing the new technology into Tanzania would definitely bring the growth to the business and ensure that we've got loyal customers with Vodacom. So that's number one. Secondly, it's about our mobile money platform, and with the mobile money platform M-Pesa, we continuously bring the latest technology into the fintech innovation. Here we've also did a lot of investments into our platform, and as you've probably seen in the past 5 years, we have moved from only transferring money from person to person. We have innovated into the financial space where we've put basically different innovations into the financial services, be it online transaction with partnership with MasterCard, innovation like Mkoba, digitizing the Vikoba, which is the community saving in Tanzania, providing loan services, lending services, insurance services, and we continue to innovate in that space. So continuation and sustainability and innovation of mobile money platforms on M-Pesa is definitely our second vehicle to grow. Thirdly, I think it's really important, there is a huge opportunity in Tanzania, which is the data growth. And for us, we believe that growing the number of customers that will be using data in Tanzania is surely a third pillar to our growth as a company. It's unfortunately being slightly slowed down because of the penetration of smartphone in Tanzania due to certain challenges. And if I would talk about the fourth thing, which is the innovation for the different government organizations, be it agriculture and the health institutions. So we're trying as much as we can to get into the space of into digitizing these different industries, which is in line with the government goals. And if I would say that, if I would highlight on this, our M-Kulima platform is one of the examples where we digitize different sectors and industries that we believe are very important into the Tanzania priority from a government perspective. So those are the really important growth pillars for us, and I think we are really in the right direction to deliver and accelerate these kind of investments in Tanzania.
Yeah, Vodacom has collaborated with some tech companies to sort of kickstart different startups, the Vodacom Digital Accelerator. Now, can you tell us the long-term goal for Vodacom? How do does your company plan to engage with Tanzania's tech ecosystem in order to drive, these different innovative ideas in the telecom industry or even beyond?
Yes, yes. Thank you for bringing that point. It's really a very important part. 3 years back, we talked to some of the startups the digital startups in Tanzania, and we have recognized that there is a gap of really these startups to flourish, to become regional successful startups or even globally successful. And we thought, as a global company, it's really important that we support and provide mentoring and coaching to some of these startups. And obviously, it has to align with our strategic objectives. And with that, we thought, okay, it's really important that we partner with some of these startups, and we've partnered with Smart Lab here, where we have launched this digital accelerator. And we really saw a great traction from these startups. They're very ambitious, great young people that we've also learned from, to be honest with you. What we really liked here is the energy and the vision they have for the digital space in Tanzania, something that I was personally inspired with, and I thought that it's really important that we commit as a digital and a technology company to support those young individuals, and we've launched that program. And I called to all my colleagues in different industries to be able to kind of join a similar approach. So we've been engaging with those startups very well, and we've seen the traction. Today we have we received over 100 plus application from different startups, and right now we obviously filter them down with a certain criteria to basically engage them and connect them to our systems and keep them into the business development ecosystem so that they can grow faster. So yeah, it's been really exciting times with these digital startups.
Startups and these the young people who have these innovative ideas. Now, what would you say is the future of the techpreneurs in Tanzania, despite all the challenges, which I'm quite sure some of them that be table to you? What do you think is the future of techpreneurs in the country?
I think there's a huge opportunity in Tanzania, and there's a lot of untapped opportunity in that space. And with that said, I think I would encourage all the young technical or digital entrepreneurs to really push their limits and engage with each one another. And the reason why, it's because the reason why I believe this is the right opportunity, and this is where they should put a lot of effort into. It's because there is a lot of relevant solutions that they're the only ones that could do it for the Tanzanian citizens. And you'll be surprised that how much the digital space can solve issues in different parts in Tanzania, be it in the agriculture space, be it in the health space, be it in the e-commerce space. So there's a huge opportunity there, and the good thing is that we can learn from different countries around us, whether it's in Europe or even in the US, where you can bring this, they can bring it here and digitize it. What we are trying to do is to enable these companies to connect to our systems, and where they can basically transact into our platform through M-Pesa. And this is one of the issues in a lot of countries around the world, where they're not able to monetize their business. But to your point, what we're basically seeing here, and is the challenge that they told us about, that they're not able to monetize because of the fact that the Tanzanians, a lot of the Tanzanians are unbanked and they don't have credit cards and so on. And that's why we came up with the open API, where they could basically have their technology or their startup or their innovation connected to M-Pesa, and they can enable their customers to pay to their own products or service via M-Pesa, and they can start monetizing their business.
So there's a line that reads, technology is people and people are technology. This is a line that's closely associated with Vodacom. What do you think is the next big innovation in terms of the telecom industry in Africa?
Look, I don't think there's one thing, right? There are several opportunities in Africa and Tanzania, and I would say, given the fact that agriculture is one of the core income in several countries in Africa, I totally believe that digitizing agriculture is definitely an opportunity, and surely there is a lot of innovation that could be happening in that space, and that's why we are actually leading the Mkulima here in Tanzania, and we're very, very excited about the growth in there. So that's one part. I think secondly, I believe if I look at health, for example, there's also another element where there could be an opportunity in there where you could digitize the health services across Tanzania. For example, if you look today, we have the mobile vaccination, M-vaccination platform, where we've launched it in several of our markets, and we are today really very keen to also launch it here in Tanzania. With that, we basically use our technology to distribute vaccination. Doesn't matter what kind of vaccine it is, but that also helps, hospitals, doctors around Tanzania to make sure that we accelerate, the health agenda to the people in Tanzania. The usage of, drones into the deep rural areas. You cannot do that without connectivity and high-speed technology. So there's a lot of that space where I think there is a huge need in Africa and Tanzania as well.
Okay, perfect. Now, we do understand that the telecom industry has a business entity on its own. There are a few challenges that still plague the industry. But despite the few regulatory issues that are prevalent here in Tanzania, we've seen some outside operators who are interested now in entering into the local market. For example, the recent potential acquisition of a local telecom by a Madagascan company. Now, what would you say drives the interest from outside operators to come into the Tanzanian market?
Yeah, so look, I think there are, as you said, there are challenges and there are opportunities. Okay, I believe if I would talk about opportunities first, and that could really attract interest as well. As I said, if you look today, the data penetration, the smartphone penetration, the digital penetration in Tanzania is still very low. And if you've got investors that are keen to kind of look at the future prospects in Tanzania, definitely there are opportunities that are untapped and could be explored further. I think to your second point around challenges, this is where the investors would be really assessing, will I accelerate the opportunity to invest now, or will I basically split my investments over 10 years? Would be always looking towards accelerating investments, but they would also be interested to get the returns. With an industry that has got opportunity but is not getting the return, investors and shareholders will be thinking twice to how much acceleration of investments could be put in there. So this is where I think the dilemma is into Tanzania. So I think we need to find the right balance into the regulatory space where it could put a certain reform that can protect the industry and ensure that it is a profitable industry, so that it can accelerate investment and not only attract investments in Tanzania.
Okay, perfect. So Vodacom, Vodafone and Safaricom are launching the Africa Connected to sort of stimulate economic recovery in 8 markets. How will Tanzania be a beneficiary of this campaign?
We've been here for over 20 years in Tanzania as Vodacom, and we've never changed our brand, we've never changed our name, and if you think about it, we are the only ones that actually has committed to that, and we're committed, for years ahead in Tanzania. And with that said, I believe that with Africa Connected, it means for us that means commitment and means more investments into the country. and it means that we are very keen to connect the unconnected. We are very keen to get into the accelerate, coverage in the rural areas, into the different villages, and we believe that it does change life. Technology does change life, and we've seen many examples like this where when we connected certain villages, it did contribute to their daily lives, whether they are transacting via M-Pesa in a secure way, whether they're able to communicate with their family, with their students that are studying into the main cities, international money transfer straight into the village had tremendous achievement into their daily life. So again, this is part of our vision, where we would like to digitize Tanzania and change lives through technology, and I think this is part of our Africa Connect agenda as well.
Perfect. Now, I do understand that part of the reason for the campaign is due to the impact of COVID-19. Now, how we know that the level of disposable income among Tanzanians has gone down as a result of the economic impact of COVID-19. As a telecom company, how do you grapple with the fact that that your customers might not be able to afford some of the services that maybe they were able to 2-3 years back? How do you grapple with this reality, and how do you mitigate? How do you come up with strategies in order to ensure that you still provide services that these customers are able to afford?
Right. I think for us, we're very close to our customers, and we listen to them. And if you think about what happened last year during COVID, we've seen it did impact tourism in Tanzania due to lockdowns in different countries around the world, which has impacted the income of a lot of Tanzanians that specifically are working around tourism. And as you rightly said, there is definitely a need to connect those people into their daily interests. So for example, an example like that would be our students, where we basically provided them with zero-rated education platforms, right? We've also connected with some of our health doctors and nurses, where we've provided them with affordable bundles as well that are specially made for them. If you look at a lot of our small and medium enterprises that were also suffering from certain income of delayed payments and so on, we have also gave them a very good payment plans, so that they don't have to pay immediately. They pay that on the installment. So we've done everything we could to really be able to provide support to our customers that are in need at this tough times. Yeah, and of course I wouldn't forget about the contribution we did for the government, which was amounted for $1 million, and that was specifically to support the hospitals in mainland and Zanzibar for special needs, whether it's food, ventilators, and we continue doing this kind of support during these tough times.
Okay, perfect. So now let's focus on the performance of Vodacom. We received the financial report of Vodacom last year, financial report, and for the first time since you were listed at the Dar es Salaam Stock Exchange, you recorded a loss. As the CEO, what is your financial focus for this year moving forward? Despite now that you're coming from a loss, so what's the financial focus?
Yeah, I think it's important to unpack that loss a little bit so that I can give you the forecast, right? So I think for me and for us as Vodacom Tanzania, the reason behind that was, if you remember earlier in 2020, during the first quarter of the year, which was our last quarter of the financial year, Jan, Feb, March 2020, we had to comply by the regulations where every customer has to have a biometric registration. So during that time, we had to disconnect or to bar really 2.9 million customers, and obviously that had a very high effect into our revenues.
2.9 is just Vodacom?
Just Vodacom, and the entire industry were, I think, closer to 7 million customers. So that was one major reason, if I would start with. And secondly, that implication of this was the fact that you've got 7 million customers or SIM cards that were disconnected, immediately there was, a war on the ground to kind of make sure that those are being brought back. And the easy war is the price, whereas as I told you, to, that basically declined the prices of both voice and data, which had unfortunately happened during that period and impacted the entire industry. Now, as a result of these regulations, price wars, incurred, and obviously impacted the overall revenue growth. What does that really mean? It means that two things: that today, where we are today as an industry, as per the TCRA, the data price cost in Tanzania is an average of 6 to 7 shillings per megabyte. Today it's being sold at around average of 1 to 1.2 shillings per megabyte, which means that the entire industry is actually selling data at loss. Now, that is not very healthy for the business, and the investors are looking at that, the shareholders are looking at that. Why would you invest in data in Tanzania while it's being sold at loss? Where is the regulations? And we need to fix that. So I think that's one element of it, and the third part that contributed to that loss was obviously when you comply with such regulations, it requires a humongous cost and investment. So we incurred a lot of costs throughout last year, buying devices that are biometrically, capable, pushing that through our distribution, investing into the channels to bring awareness, and so on and so forth. So our cost was really high. On top of that, taxation also was really, really high throughout last year. Our advertising tax increased over 160% throughout last year, which also heavily contributed to the cost, and hence, so low revenue growth with very high costs contributed into that revenue decline and the revenue losses that we've reported. Now, to your question, where's the future? How does the future look like? I think we've been really having very healthy conversations with the regulations, with the TCRA and the Minister of Telecom. And we've had very good conversations as well with the parliament committees during the budget process. I believe that there has been really, really good understanding of where we are today as an industry, and there's been really good support from the perspective that we've been invited to really talk about our issues and how can we fix that industry. Because at the end of the day, if we're able to accelerate the investment, it's good growth, more taxes, customers are going to get the benefit. And not only that, today, economically, who else could be the ambassador for Tanzania investment rather than multinational big companies in Tanzania? If we are growing at high single-digit, double-digit growth, that on its own would be a great message to the international arena, where would attract more investors into the country. Now, to be more specific, some of the conversations we were talking about is if we're able to get some pricing reform from regulatory and ministry, it will help us definitely increase our investments into the country, meaning that we'll be able to increase more rural coverage into the villages, and hence we can get more customers to use our services. So that's one. Two, we are one of the highest taxpayers into the telecommunication industry across Africa. We are closer to 40% taxes. That on its own, if we're able to kind of get some certain reform, it will help into the future prospects. Thirdly, smartphone taxes are quite high. If we're able to reduce that or actually remove it completely, it will help get more customers to afford smartphones, meaning that they will be able to have access to data. So if we're able to sort out these pain points for the industry and for the consumer, I think the future will definitely be positive for our industry. Today, I think we're all we had the conversations took place in the last 6 months or a year. We're all very keen to really see what will happen in the next in this year's budget, and we hope to really hear the good news and apply them. And if this happens, I would say that at least we are in the right direction to protect this industry moving forward, and will surely attract more investors into the country. And even from our side, we can commit to even invest further. Today, we at Vodacom, there's the acceleration in investments are being seen in Mozambique, in Kenya, in Congo, because these are growth markets. They are, returning 16% service revenue growth, 10%, and so on.
Let's put this tax issue into perspective, if we are to delve a little bit into it. We know that it's one of the reasons why you recorded a loss in the latest financial reports. So long as this sort of tussle, say, between Vodacom and TRA, the Revenue Authority, continues to go on, it means that the company will continue to make losses. Isn't that a fact? I would say it's a fact and no fact, right? Because it all depends into again the new if there are new reforms that will take place in the taxation space. Definitely it will help with the reduction of losses. But also, if we increased the top line growth, it will definitely help to balance our P&L to basically, balance it back to not making losses. So I think it is dependent on what could possibly happen. If things remain the same to where we are today, it's definitely not looking a good perspective. Okay. So now another perspective in line with the same what you just said right now. Most of the plans that will help Vodacom become profitable are dependent on the government reforms. You've talked about the stream registration. You're in talks with TCRA on certain reforms. The data prices are high, and here you have low rather, and then now here you have taxes. So it's up to the government to sort of fast track the process of doing these reforms. Again, if Vodacom is to actually grow, and now that it's depending on the government to make these reforms, where does that really put the focus of the company moving forward? If you know that success lies in the hands of the government.
So I think I'll be very honest with you. I think it's a two-way partnership, right? I think it's for us. We need the government as much as they are also in need from the private sector. And that has been the conversation from both sides, right? I think we are continuously aligned into one objective. At the end of the day, there is one objective that we're trying to reach, and Her Excellency has reiterated that in many forums where basically we need to get into a target where we have 80% of Tanzania as a broadband coverage, right? Now, if that is the government goal, right, who is going to build this? It's the private sector, it's the mobile network operators. And we are very keen to get that into place. Now, if that's the government objective and we are the ones that we're going to do it, how can we are actually very keen to beat that objective and accelerate it and not even deliver it in 5 years, we can even deliver it in 3 years, right? But if we deliver it in 3 years if we get these kind of policies and reforms and the regulatory directives into place, we will definitely invest and get the returns faster, right? So I don't think it's both together working as a public-private partnership will definitely get us to that objective.
Okay, indeed. So again, a reflection of your financial report. The mobile data revenue grew at 3.3%, which I believe is the only service which recorded a positive outcome. Now that, again, you mentioned that the data prices are extremely low, which means that it's a loss-making service for now. Are you planning to sort of pivot your area of concentration if the investors see that data in Tanzania does not pay? What then will you do? Will you pivot on the services that you provide, or will you again still wait on the reforms and talk to the investors and say that there's this dialogue that's going on between the telecom companies and the government? What will you do now that data, the only profit-making service, is now recording a loss if you continue?
Yeah, so to your point, I think, again, 3.3% is a very low growth for data.
Yes.
If you benchmark that across all the mobile network operators today, across Africa and emerging markets, it's a minimum of 20+% growth year on year. You know, so the expectations from investors are always around this kind of figure, right? So I think for us, to your question, I think there's definitely going to be more innovation in that space where we'll try to see how can we embed, you know, the digital services to be part of this growth, where we could, you know, innovate in that space even further. So I think, to your question, I think the foundation has to be fixed. It's very, very critical for us to get the foundation right, which is really the pricing reform. And again, when we tried to attempt to do that, it was early April. It was just 17%, and we were still the lowest in Africa. And I think the idea here is to ensure that it's not about us wanting to increase as an industry or a government. It's on the contrary, it's for us to survive and to become a sustainable industry and able to serve more and more customers that are in real need of that service. But today, where we are, we will unfortunately only invest in areas where we already exist to accommodate the existing customers, which is a standstill situation and not necessarily an accelerated, you know, sustainable growth situation where we would love to be.
Okay, perfect. Now let's talk about Vodacom and the sponsorship of the mainland Premier League. What is the future between the partnership of Vodacom and the Tanzania mainland Premier League?
Yeah, I think, to be honest with you, we've been always excited about that, and we would remain, right? VPL, it has been named Vodacom Premier League for over 10 years now, right? And we enjoy the partnership, we really like it. But again, with a loss-making company today, if we're not able to grow the top line, what do? You would have to look at your costs. And we've been paying in this Premier League sponsorship a significant amount in the last, billions of shillings that has went to the teams across the Premier League, to players, events, and so on. And we were happily sponsoring that. But unfortunately, at tough situations, you have to take tough decisions, right? And this was one of the expensive cost line items that we had to look at to really cut throughout, the remaining of our contract.
Okay, so if we put it in numbers, how much were you spending, let's say, per season on VPL?
I would say over 3 billion shillings, per season. So.
Okay. So right now, what you're trying to say is that there's a possible exit of Vodacom from the Premier League.
Correct. I think it's just that it's tough times, as I said. Will we be interested to look and have conversations with the TFF in the future? Absolutely, yes. But I think it's very important that we understand that this is, at this point in time, we had to take the tough decisions in many items. By the way, it's not only in the Premier League, in different areas across the business. We're looking at where could we possibly, reduce our cost lines to be able to return, get the right returns to our shareholders. And remember, we are a listed company in Tanzania, so we do have a lot of thousands and thousands of Tanzanian shareholders that are looking at our company. So we also owe that to them, and it's really important that we have the right returns to our shareholders.
Indeed. So just to make it whole complete, does it mean from next season that Vodacom will be off?
Yes.
Or what's the off? So from next season?
From next season. Yeah.
Vodacom
so we finish this last season, and then starting next season will be off.
Okay. Perfect. So just a general question. What would you say is your biggest achievement so far as the CEO of Vodacom?
I think we've done quite a lot in the past period, and I think I wouldn't say it's my own achievement, it's a team achievement, right?
Okay.
We as Vodacom Tanzania, we are a big team that is responsible in different areas within the business. I would say that we've done quite a lot, and we will continue doing more. The challenges that we face does not make us stop. On the contrary, make us more excited to engage and deliver more. So just to name a few, I think we're very proud of where we are today in terms of our investment and the quality of our network. You always hear about, with Vodacom, it's a really good speed, never fails you in different areas around Tanzania. So something that makes us all proud in our company. The entire Vodacom Tanzania team is very proud of is our commitment to the society through our foundation, through our social responsibility activities that we've done in several areas, in health, in education, in financial inclusion, in environment, all of these has been things that really, I would say, boosts our spirits because we give back to the community, and we're very, very happy and proud of all of these achievements that we've done in Tanzania. Thank you very much for being our Vodacom customers. We promise that we will continue listening to you, and we're always excited to bring more and more innovation, especially into the digital space, to all our customers.
Well, it was a great dialogue with the CEO of Vodacom Tanzania, Mr. Hisham Hendi. You were with me, Mpoki Thomson. Until next time.